Hi, so I wanted to, this is me again, and I wanted to discuss the secret satanic rituals and child sacrifice that is done in the Netherlands. So, what you guys should know is that there was a woman, and she was the wife of a man who was one of the co founders of the Bilderberg Group, which is part of this, what I'd call global cult. And she talked about how she was drugged and taken she was taken to the ritual where she saw Mark Rutte was there and then a bunch of other names. I forget the names. Some prominent judges in Netherlands who like control the other judges, the Minister of Justice and Security, and a princess, and George Soros was there, Mark Rutte, Gert Wilders. So even these two people who are considered political enemies by the media, Gert Wilders and Mark Rutte in Netherlands, they actually worked together. And she said that she saw the king's brother, who died about 10 years ago in an avalanche. The karma came and he got killed. And she said that I forget what his name was, but it's the brother of the current king of Netherlands, and he was killed in an avalanche while skiing in the Swiss Alps, I believe. And he was constantly accompanied by his psychiatrist because he was so insane. And it was said that he was gay and he would rape boys, and she saw him rape, torture, and kill a boy. And they were all sat there. Most of them did nothing, and it's mainly for blackmail purposes, so they can control these people who, by the way, cannot leave the cult at all. They can't leave the cult. They can never leave. Because if they do, and they can, but they think they can. It takes courage because if they do, because there was another leading Dutch finance guy, and he was really into business. And he was so into business that he got, they asked him, do you want to go higher up in the finance world? So he had his own business with the car dealerships. And they said, okay. I'm like, you have to put your conscience in the freezer. So he's okay, and he didn't take it serious. So he would go to these rituals with all these naked women, but he didn't see anyone get killed. And he didn't take it seriously, but he said they really believed it. So these people, they really believe in this occult stuff. It's very real for them because it is real. And they lie to us and they say this stuff isn't real. But it is real. And I'm not against the occult. I myself am an occultist. But I lean more towards the holy magic, like the Enochian and the magic of Armadale. So I can talk more about that. But first, I'll connect back because I don't forget my original thought. So all this stuff connects. That's what I'm trying to discuss with you guys. Everything is connected. And so when they go do these rituals and they sacrifice these children, it's said that the Queen Beatrix, ate them. And at the detention centers, this woman, she informed every police officer she could know, but the investigation was always stopped by Queen Beatrix, they said. And the people at the detention center, there were some people at the detention center, after they conducted a variety of interviews through the media, that believed that Queen Beatrix had eaten those children because they had never seen those children again after they went off. And this is a common theme, and this is what I've talked about. A lot of this information is repressed. They blackmail people. They control who sees these things. And the other thing is, why aren't there people? That's the thing. Nobody looks for these children. That's what you need to understand. They do not just kill any child. It's children they take from the detention centers, children that don't, I believe, have any living parents. Anyone that would wonder where they were, you see? See, so they do it to the children they think are the most vulnerable. And they do use people for breeding as well. So many of these institutions like youth care, the child protection system in the Netherlands, they also have a bad system in the US, but I don't know a lot about that system. I know more about the judge system. And I wanted to discuss how what they do is they select. So they even will pick out children that they'll take from families who 99% of the time were not abused children and should not be taken at all. Right, you've heard about the child benefit scandal in the Netherlands. Well, the scandal is far deeper than that. It's estimated they probably take around tens of thousands of children in the Netherlands every year from their parents. These children are more likely to be raped by pedophiles, statistically. Children are more likely to be killed in foster care. Children have poor outcomes. They're far more likely to commit suicide, which actually is something of concern. Child suicide is something of great concern, the mental health of our children. Because a lot of this stuff, why do they traumatize children? See, it's not just about the money. They do it because this is a ritual. There are entities, lower dimensional entities, dark entities that feed off the energy of children being abused. In fact, also, these reptilian beings, when they sacrifice the child, while they're being tortured and then killed at the moment when they're terrified, they look them in the face with the evil eye while torturing them. Because this releases adrenochrome into their blood, so when they drink the flesh and blood of man, and when they drink the blood, see, it's like goes back to Christianity. We drink the body and blood of Christ. Now, I don't believe Jesus ever believed you should drink his body and blood. This is something that's been added to the religion. It goes back to the cult of Nimrod, the cult of Baal, right? The ancient Canaanite deities. All these cults this cult that's controlling the world goes all the way back to the ancient Canaanite gods, the cult of Baal. Remember, with the Phoenicians in Carthage, sacrificing children to the gods, to Moloch. Even says it in the Bible, when they cast their children into the fire. So that's what this is, guys. It's evil stuff. And these reptilian beings, they mainly, I believe, as their interdimensional entities, they feed off, they can also manifest in the physical form of a reptilian. They feed off the blood of children in the flesh. And also, primarily, they feed off the trauma. So better they keep them alive, I believe, and they get the trauma from them. So that's what this is, and all these people have sold their souls. And I'll connect back to what I said about the finance guy. It's a separate matter, but he said they would launder money, and that also this takes place in almost every country, but in Netherlands, this is like the epicenter of it. And he said they asked him to sacrifice a live baby. And he couldn't do it. And so they tortured him, they abused him. He woke up in the hospital. He was in a coma. He eventually got free. He couldn't see his family for years, terrified they'd hurt his family. His family ended up being okay. But he escaped. But he was tortured first. And even the people that used to work with him in the cults, they contacted him and they said that he was courageous for not being able to go through with it. So this is the type of terrifying stuff which is happening. These people, they become like psychopaths. And he says he's not defending them. And he also was abused as a child when he was in foster care. Because his father really was abusive, but his mother loved him. He said that his father hurt him to make his mother suffer. And he was also raped in foster care many times by these religious people. And this is what made him to want to hurt everyone, to hurt everything, to cause suffering to humanity. So what is happening is it's a cycle. So the perpetrators I mean, the victims, they become the perpetrators when they get older. Now they finally have power and they just want to hurt other people. So if you've never been traumatized or be a victim of crime, it may be hard for you to understand how a person could become like this. But I personally have experienced severe trauma before. And most people, until they've experienced it, they don't really know what that's like. So your mind will always likes to feed off negative thoughts, and you'll think this is the worst thing that ever happened to you, but always there's something worse. And losing your child is one of the worst things. And even not knowing if your kid's being raped or something. I mean, this is terrifying stuff, and this is why the government is a bigger threat to your children than that homeless man on the street. The district attorneys, judges, there's prosecutors, even police that are involved in this, in raping kids or killing them. And what they value the most is the blonde-haired, blue-eyed child. And that they use when they get older. They can maybe be used for breeding with the reptilian shapeshifter families who are half human. So they actually pick who the royals are going to be, who are going to be the humans that will rule over the people. These people have a little bit of alien or reptilian DNA inside them. They're like hybrids and they can shift. And they often have to add a little bit more human genetics to it. So it's very terrifying stuff. And they said they even had Princess Diana on mind control. And she was ritually sacrificed in the location of the goddess Diana. And it's like the cult of Nimrod. It goes by the cult of Baal, as David Icke talks about. This is very serious stuff, and this is what happens when a nation is ruled by pedophiles, by criminals. And all these pedophiles, they realize they can go become foster parents, and they can abuse more children. And this is because foster parents are not investigated for pedophilia. They're not investigated for it because it would make youth care or the youth protection system look bad in the Netherlands. So there were thousands of cases of people reporting foster parents for sexually abusing them as children, and only a few of these cases brought forth any kind of charges, and they were not serious charges. So most didn't even get probation, and that's terrifying. I mean, there should be much more serious penalties for this, and there's no psychiatrist investigating this stuff. They want people to know, because not a lot of psychiatrists want to go into the prisons and really talk to these people. So it's very serious stuff. And the sad thing is that the media in the Netherlands is totally government controlled, so the criminals even control the media. So you'll never hear them ever talk about pedophilia in the Netherlands. They will never talk about pedophilia in the Dutch media. They want to pretend that it's not a problem. They lie to you. They say there's no crime in the Netherlands. No, Netherlands is a haven for criminals. These criminals, they get jobs as foster parents or as youth protectors so they can bully people. They're like a team of Nazi people, violating people's rights. And people are brainwashed. Even foster parents are brainwashed to hate the parents, to regard them as trash. Now, I'm not saying every foster parent is a pedophile. I'm saying many of them are. Kids are far more likely to be abused there or raped. And these foster parents, they're indoctrinated to believe that biological parents are bad, even though most of the time, obviously, they know the biological parent isn't in prison, didn't physically or sexually assault their child or criminally neglect them. Then why are they being taken if these parents don't have any criminal charges? Perhaps because the parents are innocent. Why is the child so in distress that it was taken from its mother? Because it misses its mother. But they will actually blame all the trauma that the children experience. The foster parents will blame all of that on the parents, say there's a problem. So what is normally would be used, obviously, by a person of common sense, or even a trauma expert, could investigate this and discover this child is traumatized because it was taken from its parents. Yeah. So everything they do is counter to science, so that it greatly traumatizes children, that the child regards the mother as the most important thing, absolutely essential. To take that causes tremendous trauma that always leads into adulthood. Or you could have a child that totally disidentifies from the ego, literally becomes an enlightened or a spiritual master. But that's rare. Also, you have to think about the collective karma. Many of these people, they've been responsible for hurting many children. These judges, these protectors, were wrongfully taking children and traumatizing them, where children are often abused in foster care. This is a tremendous karma to have to deal with, because this karma carry with you, and I believe there's a delay in karma in this universe, and so they might not really get their karma maybe until after they're dead, or they have to go live a life where they get abused too. But the universe will make them know that they're wrong, and just because they are unconscious, and it's not just unconsciousness, it's simply stupidity, does not mean that they will not face the consequences of their actions, or they could end up in prison. It's thought this system could collapse anyway because it's not financially sustainable. They're financially incentivized to take children. They're financially incentivized not to give children back so they can keep collecting money. And even there's other institutions that will actually, even if they say you can have your child back, other institutions will say, oh, we'll do another investigation. But how can they investigate someone's parenting if they aren't with their child? It's just a scam. So they take your child from you, and then they blame the child for all the trauma that inevitably results. I mean, they blame the parents for all the trauma, everything wrong with the child. It's just anti-parent propaganda, and these people need to realize this, and the public needs to stand up to this. And I was saying that we need to have perhaps a revolution in Netherlands. And people need to stand up to these totalitarian regimes, because people have forgotten. People don't even know what freedom is. People think they have freedom because they don't even know what freedom is. There are very few free places left on this earth. And Netherlands is not safe for children. If you have children there, take them out of Netherlands. Go to Belgium. I heard is much better. They don't have that evil system that takes children there. So you have to really think about this, and the kind of anti-parent propaganda, the envy. We're taught to judge each other, they hate each other. And many people who work for these government institutions are heavily indoctrinated, and they're violating people's rights. So many of them are psychopaths. And so when a nation is ruled by pedophiles, we have to do something about it. So there have been many people that have spoken out about this stuff. I hear it also happens in Great Britain. That Arizona Wilder, she was brainwashed. They brainwash people in these cults, and she saw them sacrifice children, with Queen Elizabeth sacrificing children as well. So this is really a big deal, and you guys need to stand up to this, because the power has always been with the people, not with the government. Thank you, and please subscribe.